Kurt, this is RJ. Can you hear me?
There's RJ.
Howdy, y'all.
What's happening?
Just trying to capture everybody's names on the screen.
I want to make the whole screen bigger.
I would go someplace where you're comfortable. My name there instead of yours.
Mr. Liz, how you doing?
Fine. How are you tonight, Kurt?
Living the dream, sir.
I got my 40 hours in this week and it's only Thursday. I bet you have much of the same.
There you go. Randy, it is 6:30.
Oh, there's Randy.
And you do have a quorum.
Nice to see you.
We've got several people on the meeting with us tonight.
Isn't that volume? It's at 100 though, right? Okay.
Randy, you're on mute.
I need Brian to turn down that crap over there. Tell him to turn that off. Tell Brian to turn down his TV, would you?
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Kurt, you're a little bit low on your volume.
Really?
Just
Right
a little.
in front of it.
Maybe it's me.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, we can go ahead and get started if everybody's so inclined.
Yes, sir. So I can do a roll call if you want for the board members. Randall Johnson,
Here?
Craig Van Dorn,
Yes.
Sean King,
Present.
Joseph Breckwig.
Here.
Outstanding. Thank you. So yes, Randy, if you're okay, we can call to order at 6:32.
Sounds good, sir.
Do you want to drive or you want me to drive?
You better get behind the wheel. I don't trust myself.
Okay. All right. So your disclosure statements have been filed with the Secretary of State, so we're all good to go. Does anybody else have any other potential conflicts they'd like to announce before we get started?
No. No, sir.
Thank you. Part of the first item is we received a resignation letter from Linda Black about 2 weeks ago. And so she did submit it in writing. She said she was resigning as of that date. If I remember right, it was February 4th. And so the first order of business is just to acknowledge the resignation letter that was received.
Acknowledged.
Yep.
And
Acknowledged.
if we could just do a motion and a second, and that way it's official.
I make a motion to accept Linda Black's resignation letter.
Thank you, sir.
Begrudgingly second.
John? It's been moved and seconded. Is there anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much.
I would like to take the opportunity to thank Linda for all her service that she's given us. And I know her job is pretty demanding with going to a new shift and everything, not being able to make the meetings. We're sorry to see her leave.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Sorry, I'm just writing down new attendees' names. So the next order of business is to review and approve the agenda. You have that as part of your board packet. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Or if not, I just need a motion and a second to accept.
I make a motion to accept the agenda as printed.
Okay.
Second.
That Joe? Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there anyone opposed to accepting or approving the agenda? All right, thank you. Next order of business then is to approve the minutes from your last regular meeting, which was held on December 10th, 2020. Again, that was part of your board packet as item 3A.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 10th, 2020.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. Is there anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much. Next is correspondence. I did include in your board packets 2 emails that we received during the last 2 months. First one is an issue about parking at the Gateway Pond, and that's on the agenda for discussion later on. The second one is a request to review a recommendation to install tennis courts at Wakanda Park. And again, I put that on the agenda as well, just as a discussion topic under new business. Is there any other correspondence that the board may have received or would like to discuss? All right, thank you very much. Next is public comment. And for everybody that's on the meeting tonight, public comment is a section where the board requests that you address the board for any items that are not on the agenda. If there's something you'd like to discuss that is on the agenda, we just ask that you hold your comments until we discuss that specific topic. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. First item is an update on the water rights issues for the Gateway Pond. And directors, I invited Mr. Craig Liss onto the call this evening, just so that we can get an update of where he's at. Mr. Liss is the water engineer, and Craig, stop me if I say something incorrectly, but he's the water engineer that you have engaged to help us out with the issue with the Division of Water Rights and the water rights, or water resources, excuse me, and the water rights issue. And so, Craig, if you could just give us a quick update, and then the board can ask you any questions if they'd like to after you're done. How's that?
Certainly. Again, I'm Craig Liss with Martin & Wood Water Consultants, and I've been doing this type of work for about 35 years now. 25 years with the State Engineer's Office, and the last 10 years with Martin & Wood. I wanted to note today that I saw an article in the Aspen Times, which was rather timely with this pond issue. It seems that Division 2 is looking at bringing into compliance thousands of ponds within the Arkansas River Basin. So it's something that's not only affecting Perry Park Metro District, it's affecting a lot of different people. And they'll probably be working on this project for years. So you're kind of ahead of the curve since you got your order earlier this year to get to work. So as of now, we are planning on doing a field inspection, but since the pond was frozen, we've delayed that. But in the meantime, we did put together some mapping, aerial photography, so we could get a fairly accurate, as accurate as possible right now, volume and surface area of the pond. We've done some evaporation calculations, come up with a total storage and evap for the year of about 18.8 acre feet, which is pretty close to what we were thinking in the first place. And the thought was to try to lease 30 acre feet of water per year so you could take care of fills, refills, water leaking out of the pond. The next step for us, as far as what I can do immediately, is I may draft up the substitute water supply plan, get the language down on paper, then the board and Kurt can review that, and so we want to head from there. A few questions we're going to have, of course, is how much water is available for lease? Will we be able to get enough water from the Perry Park Water and Sand District, or will we have to look for other sources? And I will discuss with your attorney, Evan Ela, on this project about how to proceed and who should do the contacts with the district and such. And I'm sure Kurt will be involved in that too. That's pretty much the status of where things are today. Feel free to ask any questions.
If for the folks that are on the call, if you can please mute your machine until we get to a section where you're requested to speak.
All right, let's head back out to the track before the rain started.
Mr. Lilly? Mr. Lilly, if you could please mute your machine. Thank you. So directors, any questions for Mr. List as to what we're doing and where we're at?
Yeah, just a quick question because you might have this, might not. When you say the 30 acre feet water per year, do we have an idea of what that is in terms of cost, or does that actually come to the supply? Is that really contingent on who's supplying it?
That is contingent about who's supplying. I haven't looked at any costs since we haven't spoken with anybody directly. But augmentation water can vary in cost. I've seen things on the plat where it can be 10,000 acre feet and $10,000 an acre foot and greater. We're hoping that you'll have less of a cost dealing with the Perry Park Water and Sand District. But I don't think either I or Evan have had any direct discussions. Well, I know I haven't. I don't know that Evan's had any direct discussions with Perry Park Water and Sand. Have you, Kurt, talked to them at all yet?
No, sir.
Okay.
I've reached out to them and they haven't replied to my email yet.
Okay.
Okay.
And for the directors, just an update, since you've executed the agreement with Mr. Liss for helping us out with this, we sent a letter to the Division of Water Resources, letting them know what our progress had been to this point. And we had submitted a request for an additional 4 months extension to our work to meet the order that we received from the division. And that was accepted.
Oops.
Just add a comment on that we found in the past
No, it says
that as long as you're working with the state, they're pretty good about granting extensions. Whether or not this is complete by I think it's a July 1st date, Kurt, as I recall.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if it'll be complete by then, but I'm sure if it's not, as long as we're working with them, they'll probably grant additional extensions as needed.
Now, Craig, did I hear correctly, you said it was 10,000 per acre foot?
It can be that high, but we won't know for sure what it's going to cost in this case until we talk to the Water and Sand District and other locals.
And are you thinking it's 30 acre feet per year? Is that what I heard you say?
30 acre feet would allow, we only need about 19 acre feet to fill the pond and cover evaporation. If we go to 30, that would be to allow for instances where the pond may drain down partly during the summer and then refill again. Because when it drains and refills, you have to pay for that refill of the pond.
So we're talking 300,000?
Well, we don't know that yet, right? It's an estimate, right? And
Well, I agree. I'm just trying to get an idea of where
Right.
this is.
Yeah, I certainly hope it's not. I mean, we've heard of less, and it might be a situation where Perry Park can lease you that water and then they can reuse it through their system of exchanges and such anyway at some point. We'll have to see how that works out. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen at this point.
And Craig, is part of your process to evaluate what the cost would be to tear out the quote unquote dam that's there and allow the pond to drain?
I have not been asked to do that.
bad Zoom call.
I don't know who that was, but I didn't hear what you said, Craig.
No, we have not been asked to evaluate tearing out that structure, to be honest. And we don't really do any construction work. It's more on the water rights side of things.
All static.
Kurt, is there any way you can mute those people?
Yeah, I'm trying to identify who it is. Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
But we would have to, I think the district would have to contract with another party to go through an estimate of taking out the structure, maybe putting in a low level drain. Now, it is my understanding there might be some kind of a remnant of a drain that was there years ago. And that's one of the things we were going to look for when we were out in the field.
Yep, I remember that discussion. Thank you.
If that's there, that could make the cost lower. If you just need to simply open a drain and, and redo the upstream side of it a bit, that would make it a lot more viable to actually drain that structure if necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I think we can get Sean Owens from Douglas County. I believe he may know where that supposed outlet pipe is located.
Good.
So when we do a field meeting out there, Craig, give me a good heads up on when you want to do that, and I'll touch base with Sean and see if he could make that meeting also. Might be appropriate.
Great. As soon as it warms up enough to where it's clear of ice, and that might not be for a couple of months, I guess.
Yeah.
The rate we're going, yeah.
Well, one of the things Joe and I talked about today when we were signing checks was getting that water depth. Maybe the ice is actually a bonus. You can get out to exactly where you need to be. We could chainsaw a small hole for putting like a surveying rod down in and finding bottom.
Yeah, if we think the bottom is fairly flat, that would work fine.
It is.
Okay.
It's very flat, actually.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do that a little earlier.
Okay, no, that sounds good. I just wanted to throw an option out there. It actually might be easier to do with the ice present than trying to figure out how to get out in the pond and do depth measures when it's actual liquid water.
If that's the case, we could probably go out there in the next week or so if you like.
Yeah, especially weekend. It's supposed to be so cold. It should be good ice.
I concur. It's supposed to get down 5-10 below on both Saturday and Sunday night. So I think we'd have really solid ice. It's not likely that we're going to have much more than 1 to maybe 2 feet of water under the ice right now.
Okay.
It's going to be very shallow.
Should I send out some emails? You'd like to try to set something up for Tuesday?
That would be great. Yeah. Send me an email. I'll get a hold of Sean and we'll make this happen.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Craig? If not, in between meetings, what you all did was you approved his engagement. And so since that was done between meetings, we just need to ratify that decision. And so what I'm looking for is a motion and a second to ratify the engagement of Martin and Wood Water Consultants.
I move to ratify the engagement with the organization.
Thank you, sir. Is there a
Second.
Oh, thank you, Sean. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much.
Before I close out, I think I better throw a clarification. And when I was talking $10,000 an acre foot, that would be for the flat out purchase.
Right.
And we won't be purchasing, be leasing water. So it will be much less than $10,000 an acre foot.
Okay, good.
That helps. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's well outside our yearly budget. So that would be
I'm thinking more in the hundreds per acre foot. So.
And Diana with the Water and Sanitation District has told when I spoke with her, they're very willing to sell reclaimed water for that purpose. And I think that in the best interest of everybody, I'm sure that they'll try to keep that price low.
Is Mr. Arthur still on board? He was earlier.
I believe so.
I see Brian Arthur's on there.
Yeah, Brian, do you have any comments at this time from the Water District's perspective?
No, I'm just gathering information and hopefully we have a meeting next week and I'll update the board on what you guys have tonight.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I would encourage all the board members with the Metro District to start thinking about dollar amounts as far as what we can afford and what we as a board are going to be willing to spend on that, especially over the course of time. I mean, there's a lot of considerations. If we're leasing water, what is the time frame of the lease? You know, is it going to be a 5-year, a 10-year, or a 100-year type situation? And then how that is going to impact our annual budget going into the future. So just start thinking about that, so that when we do get some numbers, we have some good solid thoughts on, is it in the ballpark that everybody's thinking about or not? That's all I have.
Okay. Next item, Craig, thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Next on the agenda then is an update on the bug kill project. Randy, I don't know if you wanted to just give us a little synopsis of where we're at with that so far.
Oh, I can. Hang on one quick second here. Yeah, we've actually had 4 payments to the contractor so far, and that have totaled $148,022.10. So they've gotten quite a bit of work done, and that amounts to 65.7 acres complete at this point, out of a total of 167 acres. That leaves us 101 acres and some change to complete. So we are just a skosh under 40% through the project on the Perry Park end. Of course, as part of this greater project, they're going to be working on the haystack and sandstone, but that won't affect our budget or time frame on this thing. The other thing is on the phase 2, that has been, we have partial funding for that. Meg at the Colorado State Forest Service has secured $167,000, I believe, through a Forest to Faucets grant from Denver Water. She submitted a $245,000 grant. I think it's another SFA grant. Don't quote me on that. And that went in, I think, the middle of January. So we should find out here within a month or two on that one also. So phase 2 would add on the Perry Park end of it, because this money would be spread over us and the haystack. Probably somewhere between 80 and 100 additional acres that we could do, and most of that work would be below Indian Head, a rock formation, with some additional peripheral lands to the project as it sits right now. And that's my update.
And then just for the board's information, I know, Randy, you told everybody how much we've spent on the contractor so far. We did get an email from Spencer at the Forest Service, and our first reimbursement check has been processed, and it's, I know the check's in the mail, but it's in the amount of $28,387.50. So as we're spending money, we'll continue to get reimbursements from the state at the same time. So that first one's in process.
Oh, very good.
That makes me feel better.
Right.
Any questions or anything else on the bug kill project? Hearing none, we'll move on. We were asked to put this on the agenda tonight. There's a couple things to talk about: the Gateway Conservation Easement and the parking in the around the pond area. So the first is just a discussion regarding the Gateway easement itself. Craig, I know you had asked me to reach out to Collins, Cockrell, and Cole. I have left a message with them. I haven't received a call back yet. I know a lot of them are working remotely, and I tried to follow up again today, and I will again tomorrow as well. But I don't have an answer for you at this time regarding your question.
One thing that's been pointed up is the last time that we actually met with Dclc was back in 2007. to talk about their management of the area and that type of thing. I think it's time that we had another meeting. We're supposed to have one every 5 years. And I think at this point, we need to have a little discussion about the parking lot, their request on the fencing. I think there's some things we really need to talk.
Yeah, just to clarify, Craig, Kurt and I sat in with Patty. We had a little Zoom meeting, and they are not requiring any fencing. That is not coming from them. We've had 2 separate citizens that sent us emails or we talked to that have requested some type of barrier there to keep cars from parking right up to the pond edge. That is not something that the conservation, the DLC, is advocating.
I thought we got a email saying, first of all, that we couldn't have any commercial ventures in the parking lot up there, and second thing was the fencing. And I believe the email read that we needed to put up a fence. So I don't think that's quite accurate.
Yeah, well, the clarification from Patty Hofstedler was they are not requiring a fence. Signage, she thought that, yes, it probably is an issue, as I think most of us also agree that we have cars that pull up to there. But Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, did not Patty say that in our conversation, that they were not requiring a fence?
Exactly. She just asked the district to take a look at what could be done. She suggested possibly some signage. And we did talk about, there are those small signs that are there now, but obviously they're not sufficient. Signs would be the cheaper way to go at first, but she said that's totally up to the district board of directors as to how you all wanted to address that. She did recognize the fact of, in my written response to her, I said that we didn't have any enforcement capability. So even though we put up signs, we're not able to enforce any kind of a parking rule that, we'd look for assistance from the sheriff's office. And she did acknowledge that.
She did mention, with regards to fencing, that if we were to do some type of fence barrier, it would have to be something that wildlife could negotiate both over and under. We have the occasional snapping turtle that crosses the road. And last I heard, snappers aren't big jumpers, so going over a fence, they need to be able to go underneath it. And deer and other such things certainly would go over the top. But we'll tackle that when we get on the fence topic.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I sent out 3 different quotes.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
We just kind of needed to know what we're going to be talking about there. So
yeah.
Absolutely.
But concerning the signs, those signs that we have, I went down there while we were getting quotes on the fencing, and people are driving over them, snapping them off. They're pulling them up when they get PO'd. And those, they take off the decals off the posts and so forth. They're not adequate. You can't see them, even when you pull in, you can't see what they say. So I think we're going to have to look at like T-post with a regular no parking beyond this point type thing.
At a minimum, we met today at the entrance there, and one of the recommendations that I made, and if you all want me to follow up on this, I can. I can reach out to Douglas County Road and Bridge, since they have their own sign shop, and see what they would charge the district to come in and install 4 or 5 no parking or no trespassing signs, if you're okay with that.
That makes sense to me.
It does.
I think we should get a price on it. My guess is, regardless of how big and obvious a sign we put up with whatever appropriate language we determine, that's not going to mean a whole lot to some people.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is it is more signs to look at out there. I would hate to clutter up that wonderful vista across the pond, assuming we can keep water in it. With a lot of signage, that would be my only concern, would be from maybe an aesthetic component to that, if that makes sense. But that's just my opinion.
Well, right now, all it is a mud hole between the road and the pond. People are just running four-wheelers or running cars down there.
Yeah.
We definitely need to get something there. You know, yes, your vista would be nice if we had grass down there that would grow, but too many people are driving down in that area to allow that to happen.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it would seem to me that some type of physical barrier is truly going to be the answer at that location to physically keep vehicles from making access to that. A lot of that's going to be a cost figure. Looking over some of those numbers that you came up with, it looked like a post and cable fence was the least expensive. And Joe, I know you had some thoughts on that. I think that would be visually probably the least obtrusive. Short post with a cable strung between them would be fairly invisible.
Well, that's what's around the parking lot area. So
Yeah.
I think it would be just a continuation of the parking lot. And we need to find out how far down the right of way for the road is down there too, before we would put up any post and cable.
Yeah. I did check today, Joe, for I had mentioned there was a map that I thought might have that. I did find that map.
Okay.
It did not have dimensions on it, but I did scale it, and it looks like that is an 80-foot right-of-way on Red Rock Drive there. So it's pretty wide.
40
And,
feet from the center line on each way?
Yeah, but that, I don't know if we can go off of where the center line of the road is as center line of the right-of-way. Those two may end up being two different things. I don't know if the county has a survey pin or two out there. That might be something to contact them about. But with regards to the other consideration that we have with that parking area, determining how much of it is actual Douglas County right-of-way and how much is on the conservation easement, may be real good knowledge to see what we can do with that situation also.
Yeah, and Randy, the other thing I thought was, what is the right of way from Highway 105? Because that might be even deeper into that parking area, and where we have our little library set up might be on the county right of way. Or this, is it the state highway 105? I'm not sure.
It's a county section through there. It's a state highway when you get closer to Sedalia.
Okay.
But it's county road down in our area. It didn't look like that came into that area very much.
No.
Okay. It'd be interesting to get the info on it.
You bet.
So the suggestion was made to have a discussion with the Dclc regarding the conservation easement and just updating. Is that something you all want me to work on, or what's the direction from the board?
I think we should meet with them if we haven't met since 2007 and we're supposed to meet with them every 5 years. Yeah, I think we need to have a meeting.
I would agree.
Okay.
Yep.
I will work on scheduling that. I'm not sure if they're going to be available during the day or the evenings. Do you all have a preference as to meeting time to shoot for?
Whenever they want to.
Okay. Great. I will reach out to them tomorrow, and I will work with Patty, and we'll set up a meeting.
I would encourage the board at this point to take a look at the easement agreement and highlight sections in there that everyone would consider altering, and what kind of alteration you would recommend to that, so that we have some base material to go on going into that meeting.
And that is available on the district website if you all don't have a copy. Or if you need one, just let me know and I can get it to you.
All right.
Okay. And Randy, I will work on getting a quote on the shortened fence like we had talked about earlier today, the post and wire.
Okay, yeah, very good. What was that quote that you had gotten, Craig? Wasn't it close to, it was just under like 10 grand for a post and cable fence?
Yeah, two of them were under 10 grand. That would have been just post every 5 foot, and post and cable was the middle one actually.
Okay.
And I'm going to say it was like 9,700, and then if you wanted to go with the post and like on the north side of Red Rocks, that was more like $12,000. So yeah, I figured it was going to be about 10 grand, and I was real close to being right on. So
yeah, you were.
And does that include, Craig, going around the parking lot area?
yes, it does. Kate, we don't have cable. I misspoke earlier. We don't have cable around the parking lot area. So that is including the area there. Also throwing a gate in so that Ron can get in with his mowers, a 12-foot gate. If we go with the cable type situation,
Right.
we'll need a gate there so Ron can get in to mow, especially if we're going to try to make that area look nice and keep it manicured and so forth.
Well,
And I would also like to present, if we do try to get that to be manicured and we do put up the cables, I would like to see us about every 50 foot starting to put up evergreen trees similar to what we have around the parking area, and maybe using that as for Christmas lights competition or something like that each year, and it would also look good in the summertime and that type of thing.
The other thing, Craig, we have to make sure we have is some walkways through there in case somebody wants to go down there with a wheelchair or a walker or something like that.
Yeah, I told everybody on the fencing to leave gaps, only 30-inch gaps, so that no four-wheelers can get down there, preferably no motorcycles can get down there, no cars. That way only a person can walk through there.
Okay.
So yes, I did have them figure some gaps.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion regarding the conservation easement? All right, I will be in touch regarding a meeting. Next item is to discuss the appointment to fill the vacancy on the board. I'm sorry.
Was there something on the agenda further down for the parking there, or was that?
No, so that was the discussion about the gateway easement there.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
I'm just curious, we have another agenda item with that.
Yeah, there's two agenda items there, Kurt. Do we combine them?
Well, the one was to talk about the gateway conservation easement. The other one is the parking of personal vehicles at the gateway pond with the fencing quotes.
Yeah. So did we cover all that then?
That's why I'm asking Joe, did you want to talk about the parking issue at the?
Well, what the big issue that we're facing right now is the Little Peacock and wanting to do their coffee shop on wheels at the parking area, which is why I think we have quite a few people all on the call tonight. There's a lot of interest in this.
Yeah. When I first posted it on Facebook and Nextdoor and so forth, the reaction was about 165 to 5 in favor of having the little peacock come and that type of thing. So I do think it's something that a lot of the people in Perry Park wishes to address.
Agreed, and I think that's what you're doing, right, Craig? By reaching out to as we reach out to the DLC to discuss the terms of the conservation easement, right? So just tie all the dots together here.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're reaching out to that organization who actually manages that on behalf of, that particular parcel of land in front, where we and give us and frankly own that space, at least as far as enforcement of those policies on that land. Is that a fair way of saying that?
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things, if we have an 80-foot right of way alongside the road,
sure,
then maybe that might be an answer to parking the little peacock in that 80-foot right of way, and then everybody else can park in the parking lot, or whatever. But I just think that the Dclc situation that we've had over the years, we kind of need to look. It's different times right now. We've had. Right. I'm for anything that puts our people in Perry Park together.
Right, and I think personally, from my point of view, I'd like to understand what is the value of managing a parking area into the wildlife space and that there. I think it just, again, it's not like it's right in the middle of it. It's on the corner. I think we're all talking about the same thing. So I think we all have parameters that we want to bring to this conversation. And I think hopefully for everyone else on this call understands that it's an urgent matter and we are looking to address that. And I think we are looking for many different ways to address that and make this available, because we agree that this was I went and bought some coffee. It was fantastic. So,
well, I'm not a coffee drinker and I haven't been there yet and so forth, but I think it's something to bring our people together.
Absolutely. Well, and look, we're here at the service of the community. So yes. That's right. Good point, Steve. I think at this point, we're looking for the flexibility and authority to even do such a thing. And then I think we're going to have to open up discussions as to the parameters of how we would actually execute on that. Because you're right. It's not like we want to just allow, we'd have to regulate that somehow, right? We'd have to put the rule. That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. It would definitely have to be, controlled.
We've ran off certain people out of there. There are commercial trucks that park there for days on end. And we've called the sheriff on those. And I have allowed a couple Girl Scouts to sell cookies up there. We have the free library up there but they put copies of the Larkspur Sentinel there that has commercial ads in it. So, and I would guess that 80% of the people that pull off the road to use their telephones there are doing business. So.
I think some of that's going to be the interpretation of commercial activity, right? So all of that stuff that we need to get more detail on and more understanding of. Yeah. I think a meeting with the DLC is a good place to start.
Yeah. And that was Patty's point when I spoke with her, and also in her written correspondence. And then when Randy and I spoke with her, she specifically referenced, let's see, it's on page 15 of the easement, the deed of easement. Section H says no commercial or industrial uses shall be allowed on the property. So that's pretty broad based.
Right.
It talks about the entire easement, which the parking lot is part of.
Mm-hmm.
So their position right now is there's to be no commercial activity. And when I talked to her, she was saying that, initially it was like they didn't want a 7-Eleven built there or anything else, a permanent structure. but they were still.
Don't have any problem with
draw
that.
the line at that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that. Well, I won't say anybody. I'm sure somebody does.
Well, and I just want to let you guys know they are serious about this. They will go to court over it. She said that. And I think part of this is they deal with a lot of other land easements around the county, and there's probably very similar verbiage in many of those, if not all of them. And I think her perception is, should somebody get like a foot in the door, then that problem would escalate for them as an agency with all these other things that they're involved with. And so they don't want to see that, which is why she was a little bit adamant about, going to court if need be on it. I think that's the wisdom, is talking to them with our quote unquote 5-year meeting and find out if, like Sean had suggested, maybe that carving that little parking area out of that easement, because it makes no sense for them to manage a parking area.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
It makes no sense. No, it's not a valid part of the.
What can they do? They have no jurisdiction, so to speak. Things that they've suggested doing down there, like the night sky looking and things like that. So
Hey,
they're
Craig,
going to
you
have
might-
a bunch of cars in the parking lot if they do the night sky situation.
Sure. Hey, Craig, just real quick, you might want to turn off your video because it's getting in the way of your audio coming across. So
How do you do that?
just there's a button on the bottom that says stop video, and that generally makes the audio connection work better.
Yep. All right.
I hate to see your smiling face.
I do. I would actually rather be looking at you for sure.
But yeah, Sean, you got great points there, and Craig and Joe and everybody. We just need to sit down and talk with the Land Conservancy and see if we can get something worked out for that little piece of it right there.
Right.
So can we commit to the people that are here that are interested in this, that we will meet with them and come back with some sort of idea what's going on by the next meeting?
I would
It
think
depends
so.
on DLC, right? So I think I heard Randy mention this, and it was a good place to start, which was actually in the verbiage of the easement document, going and highlighting the elements that we want to discuss. And I think this should be in there. And if it's not, then we will add it as an additional item, which is specifically the management or the ownership or potential options around the parking area at the front of the park.
So, but Steve, are you asking, are we committing or saying that we're in favor of allowing this type of business?
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going in with the position as far as I know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how we affect that position, and what kind of solution we can have, whether it's some kind of rewording of the actual easement itself with regards to that parcel of the easement, or I don't know, maybe there's some creative solutions that we're not thinking of also. But the short answer, Steve, is yeah, I think we're going in with a position.
Right.
And this is what we'd like to be able to do there into the future. And how can we do that?
Okay. Anything else? Then moving on, there is a vacancy on the board right now. And so it's just, I put it on the agenda for you all to discuss what you would like to do to either collect letters of interest like we have in the past, or if you have somebody that you're interested in appointing, it's the board's choice to appoint. And if you do choose to make an appointment, that position would also be up for election at the next election in May of 2022.
I think we just go do the same thing that we've done before. We make an announcement. You send out e-blast. We put it on the Nextdoor. We put it on Facebook. We put it on the website. Ask for the letters of interest plus resumes, and then we have our meeting to discuss those. And then come back with a recommendation to the next board meeting.
Okay, I can go ahead.
I would like to see us utilize that format that we've used in the past also. I think we had a 10 question thing, and so people could kind of verbalize on some points. And if we're going to do that type of selection process versus just a pure appointment, which I am a fan of doing a selection process like that, I think depending on the number of candidates that might apply, that we would look through their questionnaire, as it were, and resume, and then actually get down to an interview process with that.
Okay, and we do have that questionnaire.
I'm sorry. Randy, should they be making their interest known to you or whom? Or Kurt?
I think you can go straight to Kurt as far as an interest thing. It could go to the LFPD info. LFPD. Wrong
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Come on, man. I think that's what I was going to offer, Randy. Is like, look, Kurt, if I can get that information before the 20th, I can get that into the Sentinel too.
Sure.
And then we can just have that link to the info box, and you're monitoring the info box, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I will get it to you. And like I said, we do have that questionnaire. It's up on the SharePoint. So I'll make sure I get it to you, and then I'll put together an e-blast and send it to you all before I put it out, in case you want to edit that at all.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. There was a question here from Lynn Casey regarding the discussion we just had about the coffee truck. So what was the experience like for the one time for the coffee truck? While we investigate, can they park on the edge of the road there?
They did 4 times the amount of business that they do in Larkspur. So they were pretty much out of coffee, donuts, and everything else. And that would, my point was, yeah, can they park on the edge of the road there on the road right away, and everybody else can park in the parking lot and walk over to them. It's my understanding that food trucks can park anywhere that is a public place because they have adequate licenses and so forth from the county. And the little Peacock, it's my understanding they have licenses for Douglas and Jefferson County.
Craig, have we reached out yet to our own people yet to just clarify what they could and could not do based on any kind of rules that we have either in Perry Park or in Douglas County as far as where they could put that? I mean, we've got our legal team, right? Have we reached out to them at all on this?
That's why I asked Kurt to get a hold of CCC, was to get some kind of clarification.
There we go. Okay, so that was the question. Okay, so that was what was missing in the beginning of this meeting, is that there was a question, but we didn't know what the question was. So now we know.
Exactly.
So now we know.
And just to answer Ms. Casey's question as well, as DLC's position right now, they, like Randy said, they are willing to enforce the conservation easement agreement. And so that's why it's probably the best idea, just hold off on anything until we have an opportunity for you all to meet with them. and then come to an agreement or not come to an agreement. And then
Right.
we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda is there was a couple emails that went back and forth regarding a wildfire posse. Craig, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, in one of the other associations that I have an interest in and so forth, they came up with the idea of a wildfire posse of volunteers coming up together for about 3 or 4 hours on a weekend, and they go to a property that may not have an capability of maintaining their own property for wildfire purposes. And I thought that was kind of a neat idea. You know, what they do is they have quite a few people actually show up, and when you have quite a few people, an acre lot could be wildfire mitigated very quickly. And I just wondered if that's something that maybe we want to work on.
It's a good alternative to the grant program, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, Craig. And we've actually had that occur in the park a couple times a long time ago, where people assisted some folks that were fixed incomers, didn't have the money available to hire a contractor and physically weren't able to do the work themselves. And that really helped them out quite a bit. We've had a couple other communities in our area do a similar thing. I've actually, with my other hat on, participated in a couple of those. So we did one for a gentleman up on Woodmore Mountain that lives in a very tenuous property up there. And his son is kind of in an extreme needs category. And it's just him and his son. And we went up there with neighbors and spent a whole day and did a tremendous amount of work. And it was very gratifying for everybody that volunteered their time to go help them out. And he was so incredibly appreciative. So I think it's a super idea. And, you know, maybe we could get the Firewise Committee back up and running. And maybe that would be something that they could handle through them.
Stairs. Peggy's iPad needs to be muted.
I'm looking for it right now. Yeah.
But,
Okay.
what would you think of that, Craig, of running it through the Firewise Committee? Does that make sense, or do
That's
you
fine.
have some
Yes.
other thoughts?
Yeah, it makes
Makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah. Let's look at it there and see if there's any interest, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to, you know, maybe put on a little class on proper safety things regarding chainsaws and some of those kind of items. I hate to get a little volunteer group together and then have some really bad day event.
Mm.
Okay.
An arm of a person rather than a tree.
I'm knocking on wood here, Craig. Yeah, no, we don't want something like that. But I think it's a very doable thing. And, you know, I would encourage, in some respects, it's almost like a neighborhood watch program. And it's something that I've seen kind of dissipate from our community over time. Neighbors used to be a lot more involved with each other when I first moved in here. Now, given that was, 25 years ago, but I've seen that kind of fall to the wayside. And I think anything that we as a board can do to foster that kind of community behavior, I think we're obligated to try to do that.
Hey, not to take us too far down any particular path here on this conversation, but have you started seeing our predictions for summer yet in terms of wildfire danger in the area?
Yeah, I think it's still pretty preliminary. And, right now, all you have to do, if you really want a good clue, is follow the NOAA drought mapping. And right now, a significant portion of the Western U.S. is in really, really, really bad drought. And most of Colorado is in really, really, really bad drought, with extraordinary drought being the highest category on the west slope. And guess what? On the Front Range, little old Douglas County is one little spot of extraordinary drought. So we're in it. And that's not looking good. But again, that's the kind of thing that, we get 1 5-foot snowstorm in March, like we did in 2003, that took a bad winter right after the Hayman fire and turned it around. And there was no fire season on the Front Range that year, So I don't get too upset about things at this point. As we get closer to May, and we're still in the same boat, then I'm going to be nervous.
Okay. Thanks, Randy.
Randy, what about burning the slash?
I'm watching every storm we get, and I've got to have certain parameters for that. Like I said at the December meeting, we pulled the smoke permit. We're ready to rock on it. We just need to watch how these storms get forecasted, and then it usually ends up being like a day before or morning of a decision process. We have to make certain that that storm is going to do what they said it was going to do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next item, like I said, one of the emails that we received during the month was from a resident requesting that the board discuss the possibility of installing a tennis court at the Wakanda Park. Just based on the makeup of the residents in the area, he thought that might be a good idea. Linda, before she resigned, replied back and said, yes, she thought it would probably be a good discussion item. The possibility is we could always ask for a grant through GOCO, and if there was sufficient interest by the board, that will be an expense, because the GOCO grant, if approved, wouldn't cover 100% of the cost. So it's just a matter of, do you want to discuss it, and do you want to take any action on it to move towards getting quotes and seeing what that would cost?
If I would like to see, I think the person that sent the email, or one of the emails, was asking for 2 tennis courts. I would, if instead of 2 tennis courts, I'd like to see a tennis court and a pickleball court. But
pickleball, huh?
Yeah.
Don't use.
We got some old people out here.
Craig, don't you use the same court for pickleball, or is that a different size?
I don't know. I've never played it, but I know that it's pretty popular around here in the summertime.
From what I know, there's sufficient land there to do it. It's just a matter of having the area surveyed and then getting some quotes.
Yeah, I think that's probably where a lot of this stuff starts, right? Because even if we wanted to do it, a lot of that's going to come down to cost, and we have a lot of things potentially bearing on our budget this year. So not to say no, more to say what would it cost and what would the grants look like and where would we potentially net out. I think it'd be good to have some ballpark numbers to play with there, and to be able to work from that. Like, or what other options are there potentially for putting some more adult friendly, entertainment down there? I mean, can we just even talk about a horseshoe pit and some other things, right? So, I think it's worthwhile maybe talking about some options and getting an assorted set of bids back, just so we know. And then your expertise with the GOCO grants to let us know kind of what that would look like.
Sure. You do have a Parks and Open Space Committee. Linda was chairing that.
Yeah, I know.
I've worked with a company in the past that maintained tennis courts at a couple of districts, and I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I can get you some rough quotes.
Yeah, I think that's all we need. Just I think that's all. I mean, I don't know about you guys. That's all I'm really interested in, is just some rough understanding of numbers, and being able to bounce that against our budget and kind of be realistic about what we think we can do without going and asking. And then at that point, if it's something we need to go ask, for more funds from the district to do that, then we have to test the desirability of that.
Okay. Like I said, if you're okay with it, I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I will bring back a rough cost for you at the next meeting.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Okay.
Agreed.
Before you go on, there's a question out there that came in from one of the audience, asked if we could consider looking at a partnership with the country club.
Can certainly ask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not typically something that, those conversations tend to be, okay.
one-sided.
Well, I think just more, they have their space and they have they're limited with funds too, right? They're limited with outlay. They have plans for what they want to do to overhaul. I mean, you know this, Joe, and Craig, you know this too. I mean, they're looking to do a lot more to bring the country club up a level, and I'm not sure if this is in the cards for that or not. But
Right.
it's worth bringing it up. So we'll talk to him no matter what.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Next, then we'll move on to financial items. First item is to review your financial statements for the period ending January 31st. That was item 12 in your board packet. If you go to page 3 of that document, you'll see that your total cash at the end of January is $514,743.47. That's between the checking account and the 3 investment accounts for the district. Next page is just your balance sheet. Shows the different amounts in your different funds, your checking account and your investment funds. Just so you know, Joe did move money from the Color Trust account to the checking account to cover the current month's payables. And then as we receive those monies that come back from the state regarding the state fire assistance grant, those will be deposited back into the Color Trust account to pay back those monies.
Kurt, that's where I would prefer to see them all go straight in there.
Yes, sir.
We're moving, money back and forth just to keep it in that checking account, but we rarely go through that much money.
Yeah. And so as those checks come in, all we have to do is sign them over to Color Trust. I've got a cash transaction form that I'll email to you for your signature, and then we can send those in and just deposit those directly to Color Trust.
Perfect. Thank you.
You bet. Next page is just a breakdown of your general fund on a cash basis. Again, you can see the first column is just the total month's activities for the month of January. Not a lot going on right there. There were some of the payables in the current month's payables that are tracked back to 2021 because they were expenditures that were incurred then. But you can see that in January you actually expended just a little under $2,000. So we're on our way. First round of tax revenues will come in the end of this month, beginning of March, and we'll be off and running. Any questions on the financials?
Okay.
All right. Next then is just to review and consider your February payables. So item 12 in your board packet, you have a check register and then the invoices for all of those. Total expenditures for the month of February comes to a total of $51,799.98. Again, the largest portion of that is the one check to Dove Creek Forestry, which is just over $46,000. And those are represented by checks 6503 through 6514. And if you're okay with those, just need a motion and a second to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve checks 6503 through 6514.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there anyone opposed to approving the payables? Outstanding. Thank you. Next, just committee reports. First is Firewise Committee. Randy, are you the chair of that committee?
He's on mute.
Not anymore. I was swearing everybody. No, I'm not.
I didn't think so.
Keith was kind of the chair of that when we had him doing kind of general duties. So I don't know what the status of that group is. That's probably something I'll have a conversation with Keith Worley on and see if we can get that back up and running if any of those people are still interested in it. And yeah, see what I can do.
And we can send out a blast email asking for volunteers as well. Just let me know if you want us to do that.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. Yeah, that we may end up doing something like that.
Okay. Same as Parks and Open Space. I know Linda had a small group of folks that were interested in that. If you're okay, we can send out a blast email asking for interest in that.
Do we want to do a blast email, or do we want to start with the folks who are already on the committee? Aren't there still some people that are part of that?
I don't have a list. I can reach out to Linda and get her list.
Yeah, I still have to actually get the computer from her anyways. I'll ask her.
You know, preferably
We should at least start there.
Okay. Preferably, it's good to have one board member that, you know, is that conduit between the committee and the board of directors. So that's something you might want to think about. Not you specifically, but the board might think about that.
Understood.
Okay.
I see another duty for the new guy or gal, whoever's coming on board at some point.
Way to think ahead.
Jill Arthurs was on the committee. Jill Arthurs was
That's
on.
right. That's right, Jill.
Might be another source to tell who was on there.
Cool.
Outstanding. Okay, we're down to directors' items. Anything from the directors that you'd like to discuss?
The first thing that I have would be, I asked Kurt the other day to take down all of the Architectural Control Committee on the website. I went through this, and first of all, I did talk to the county clerk, and they have nothing at their level concerning this anymore. I then went through all the different people that are on this list. This was on our website. And apparently one person was giving some bad information that hadn't lived in Perry Park for some time. And on this list, there were 5 people that no longer live in Perry Park. There are a bunch that are not on a committee. I did find Lowell Johnson in filing 4 said that he was still on the committee. Ken Tribby may be on filing 4, but that's pretty much it of all the ones that are there. So I don't think we want bad information getting out to people. This one person also that doesn't live here, lives in Jefferson County in Evergreen, was giving out information, and he was getting 2 or 3 calls a week from new residents, and they should be referred on to Douglas County building and covenants and so forth.
And Craig, we did take down all of that information and still left up the statement that the district has no responsibility or authority regarding architectural control, and it does point them to Douglas County. And there's a hot link there for that as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Each of the 11 filings has their own covenants. And if they are building in one of those filings, that's where they should be going to. Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, the only other thing I've got is concerning the speed signs. And I talked to them again today. We have one of the speed signs, the solar powered speed sign. We've got all the parts for it, but they're all different than what we used to have. And so we're going to need somebody to put that up. The other three, the radar guns are made in China, of course, and it's going to take a while for them to get here. So that's where we're at on those, but they still are coming, but they just are taking a long time coming from China. If you'll remember right, on the September 10th, 2020 meeting, we okayed the expenditure to purchase the radar guns and the equipment to fix all the radar speed signs. So that's where that stands.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, Steve, I can address that. The studies that were done, I think it was 2 or 3 years that Douglas County had all the radar signs up. They originally put 6 speed control signs up that are radar activated that lets you know what your speed is going by that sign. They ended up leaving 3 after the end of their study. And like I said, their study was extensive. I believe it was 2 or 3 years. And basically, yes, they are effective to a degree. Nothing's 100% effective, but they are effective. Over the years, there's been tons and tons of talk about physical things, speed bumps, speed humps. What about throwing a roundabout in the middle of the road? All kinds of things have been discussed. The physical things, number one, are very expensive. Number two, speed humps would be a horrible idea on that stretch of roadway because of the incline, both on each side of the hill. Just the kind of thing that you need to have throw your car out of control when things get a little bit icy. Also, I will speak from the fire department perspective on that. The speed hump is not a good thing for engines to go over. They have a lot of low-hanging stuff, and it's problematic. I will say that. So, I mean, all this stuff has been looked at extensively over about 2 decades. And kind of where we're at today is the speed signs that we have left. Number one, getting them back working. And this is the, you know, when you look at expenditures, and I appreciate your thought towards, you know, are we throwing money away on repairing these speed signs? It's the first repair work we've had to do on any of those. They kind of all went at once, which is bizarre, but yeah, that's the first time we've had to put any money out. So those signs have sat there for a good number of years, really not costing the district anything other than the electricity it took to run 3 of them. 4th one was on solar, so that was kind of a free ongoing cost for that one. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Steve, as far as what you'd like to see out there, or where you're coming from on it? Oh yeah, no, it's a little bit more than what anybody thought it was going to be, but like I said, that's the first time we've had to do anything with these in quite a few years. So if you look at it from that perspective, it hasn't been a big deal, at least in my personal opinion.
Randy, don't you have an obligation to one of the residents that purchased?
That is correct. That's the solar one, and that's the one.
Put that back up for their.
No, it is an obligation. Not a paper contract, but there was an agreement in place, and that person spent several thousand of his own dollars to get that one put in, with the thought that the Metro District will maintain that. And we thought that was, at the time, we were thinking about adding another speed sign somewhere. So that one kind of just took care of itself. We had to spend some money on it, but not the full price, that was for sure. So yeah, that person has a vested interest. And yeah, we, as a board at that point in time, gave that person our word that we would do that. So I view that as, pardon? He wishes to stay anonymous. Well, I don't want to get into that, but we can certainly talk offline about it, but I don't think he wants his name out there in the community, and I'll respect that.
The other thing that Randy didn't bring up and that I researched on the speed bumps, because that seems to be the one thing that a lot of the residents bring up, is why can't we put in speed bumps? Emergency responses, because you have to slow down with your ambulance, your police car, your fire engine and so forth, get greatly reduced, or extended the response time because they have to slow down for them. So personally, I don't think speed bumps would be the way to go, and I don't even think the county will allow them. The other thing is traffic circles were suggested at one time, and it was my understanding that many of the residents expressed that they did not want traffic circles. So, you have to look at a lot of different things to try to come up with a workable situation, I think.
Yeah. Well, like I say, not to belittle your thoughts on this, Steve, because I do respect them. This has been an ongoing issue for the better part of 2 decades, and all this stuff has been ground into the pavement, so to speak, and stomped on and hollered about and whined about with more people than I could even begin to count. And I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board, but myself as a board member, I am comfortable where we're at with the solution on this, along with additional enforcement when we can get it from Douglas County. I think that's the most important thing, to have them come out and occasionally be here and have presence, because even the blinky signs lose their value over time, which is why one of the programs that we're probably going to implement is, we'll have them on for a while and then they'll be turned off for a little while and then on again, so that they're not something that just disappears from your eyesight, even though they're on. They become too commonplace. You need to have a little bit of awareness of them, and that comes through orchestrating when you have them on, and like a month at a time, and then you take them off a week or something like that. But honestly, from a cost standpoint and a headache standpoint for the district, they really haven't been one. I'll grant you, from your perspective, it may seem like that because we've dealt a few meetings on that topic, but it really hasn't been a big deal in my personal opinion. Well, let me let me put it a different way, Steve. We had somebody that stepped up to the plate with some money in the community, and we're not, I would like to think that we have some integrity as neighbors with each other in this community. And that's part of that equation. Is it something you can put in legal terms? No. Is it something that you can address on a spreadsheet? And the answer is no. But I believe that our community here is more than that. And
Okay.
well, like I say, the board was looking to put another one up at that point in time. And this individual stepped up to the plate and said, it can go out in front of my house, which was kind of a big deal because a lot of people don't want that sitting out in front of their house. So that individual was willing to, as I would view it, put up with that. And not only that, he threw money on the table. I thought that was being a good neighbor. And I take it as an obligation for the board on a good neighbor basis.
Right.
We might say that also occurred a long time ago.
Yeah.
It did. Yes.
I know I wasn't on the board at the time, so that's 3 or 4 years ago. So
I believe I had just gotten on the board. And I think it was my first year that that happened.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, I mean, we'll
go ahead.
I can see the concern here because look, I mean, special districts don't have a great name in Colorado these days. I don't know if you guys have been reading anything going on in the Denver Post, but I mean, we are, what I can tell, the most like transparent special district out there. I don't know, maybe you can tell us differently, Kurt, but you know, it probably is a concern in terms of transparency. So we may need to think about that and think about how are we making sure words like obligation are considered really carefully in terms of how we're saying that. So we'll just talk some more about that and see what we can come up with a way to satisfy Steve's, requirements here in a way that we're not going to, let's just say we're not going to disturb or ruin our relationship with one of our residents.
Agreed.
Yeah, and not only that, but the previous boards didn't have to operate under all of the rules and regulations and have so many different people that have their finger on us like we have. The last 4 years it's been a challenge to get anything done because like the front gateway, there's, I don't know how many different organizations, governmental organizations that have control up there. And every time we do something, we run into opposition from an agency. So it's hard to do anything without being fairly transparent. And I know that Sean definitely has pushed us more and more, and Kurt has pushed us more and more to be more and more transparent, and we've tried to do that.
I think it's just another good request towards that. So I think I think I recognize, Steve, I recognize your concern here, and I think we just need to figure out the right way to satisfy both parties here. So if you can give us maybe a month to work on that one. Does that work? Cool.
Okay, any other director comments? Hearing none, your next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 11th. Last I checked, the country club is still not accepting anybody to use their meeting room. So we'll keep trying. We'll see what happens with the Rona, and barring any changes, we'll just plan for another Zoom meeting.
You know, and Kurt, we should talk at some point. We may just want to make this part of our meeting, even if we do start meeting in person.
Yes, sir. And we had talked about that last year
Yeah.
as well. That way folks can join in whenever.
Just to open that accessibility, right? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I like it that we've got so many people that are joining our
That's right.
Zoom meetings. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
Kurt and group, I'd like to recommend that if we're going to continue to hold Zoom meetings, that Kurt start to show his screen to everybody and show the documents we're talking about when we talk about financial reports, meeting minutes, the agenda, put them on the screen so everybody can see them.
Well, and just Joe, just so you know, the financials are up on the website prior to the meeting.
Yeah, but I think,
Like that, but yes, but yeah, I'll do that.
You know, I think it'd be a nice gesture to show what it is we all see it. Not everybody maybe knows where to look for it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my suggestion.
Okay. Anything else?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
I second.
All right.
What was moved?
Adjourn.
Adjournment.
And adjourned at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Wow, it's like early.
Better than I thought.
Well, thanks for everybody participating tonight from the
Seriously,
audience.
thank you.
It is appreciated, and your comments are taken to heart. And Steve, I'm not beating up on you, sir. You have good points, but like I said, if you want to talk offline about that, I have my personal concerns for an individual in the park, and I would like to honor that. I'm not the kind of person that's gonna throw something out on the pavement that doesn't need to be out on the pavement. And it has nothing to do with, transparency. It has more to do about just being a good neighbor to people and respectful.
Right.
Okay. I will be in touch regarding the meeting with the DLC. And
Thank you.
Sean, I will get you the information regarding the question.
Yes. Please do.
Are all checks signed and so forth, or do you need a meeting with somebody?
I met with Joe and Randy today, and you've all approved them, so they'll all go out in the mail tomorrow.
Okay.
Call the question.
Sure.
You need to call the question. Does everybody agree to the?
Oh, is there anyone opposed to adjourning? Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
All righty.
Good to see everybody.
Take care.